Hey artists, today we're going to draw this really cool looking anglerfish. Make sure you have a pencil, an eraser, a Sharpie, watercolor paper, watercolor paints, a glass of water, paintbrushes, and a paper towel. It's important to have the correct supplies for this style of painting, especially the watercolor paper and the Sharpie. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is grab our pencils, and we're going to start right here on the fish's back. So we're going to draw kind of a curved line up, back around, and then up again. So we need a shape kind of like that. And then from there, we're going to start with the mouth. So we're going to draw kind of a curved line down and around. We're going to stop right about here with a little curve this way. That's his mouth. You can have him pull this out just a little bit, and then down, around, and then back up like this. All right, so you don't want to quite touch there. It's kind of like a squiggly line there. We're going to draw some teeth in here, so just point up, and I just got smaller and smaller with my teeth as I went down the mouth, just like that. Next we're going to draw a big eye on our anglerfish, so big circle with a circle inside, and then I drew a little highlight in there. And when you go in with your marker, just make sure that you don't color in the highlight. I just use my pencil so that I remember. I drew a little eyebrow type shape up here just to make his eye look a little better. Next thing, we're gonna start drawing this top part. So another point, point, and point. Then we're going to connect those points like this, and then this last one we're just going to curve down like that. All right, we'll start down here on this tail. So from this point here, about in the middle, we're going to go up, up, go up. Kind of, you can see where you did this. You want to do the same on the bottom. Oh, I started a little too soon. Let me erase that and start over so you can see better. All right, up and like this, and then back down again. So now we have his tail coming together here. We're just going to connect these 2 points like this, and then we're going to start working on the tail. So for the tail, I did some lines like this, and then we're going to curve it in. And then from there, we'll start about here, do another little shape here, start a shape. His tail looks a little chopped up, kind of like rough looking. Something like that for his tail is what we want. All right, and then we're going to start on these bottom ones. So just a shape like that with some lines going through. I did 2 lines on that one and 2 lines on the next one. So again, 1, 2, you draw that right by his mouth here, under his mouth, and then we're going to draw this top part with a light, curve around like this, and then draw like kind of a teardrop looking shape. Again with the highlight, I left that highlight there. I even colored that one in with my marker. And then up and connect it. So now we have our anglerfish. Also, we can add a couple little lines just to show that this is lit up, looking for some food. Okay, so then we're going to take our Sharpie and we're going to go over all of those pencil lines that we just made. You can make some of these outside lines darker. It makes it pop out a little bit more on your page. And then some of the inside lines, like right here in the tail, you don't need to make so thick. All right, once we're done with that, we'll move to our next step. All right, I'm all done with my Sharpie, so I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser and erase any pencil marks that we can still see. All right, next thing we're gonna do is grab our paper towels and a paintbrush, and we're gonna start painting our anglerfish. So the first thing we're gonna do is grab our medium-sized brush and just kind of fill in this body with some water. We don't want a lot of water, just make it a little wet. Try to avoid that eye and the teeth, especially because we want to keep those white. So we're just gonna start in here. I painted my anglerfish purple, but you can paint your anglerfish whatever color you want. Maybe I'll even make this one a little bit different so you can see some other colors. And then you just choose whichever one you like best, or even something completely different. So I'll do a dark blue for this one. So we're gonna go along this bottom edge. First, we want this darker. I like to start with the darkest area and just kind of start working my way up. You can see it gets lighter and lighter. Since you put the water on there first, that helps the paint move along. All right, I also want it dark back in here behind the teeth and along this top edge, a little bit darker. So again, we're going to avoid that eye. Carefully go around the teeth. Okay, just like that. Go along this edge here. I didn't quite make the whole thing wet yet. We'll stop at this line because we don't want to make the tail the same color, or at least I don't. Maybe you would like to. We want it dark right along this edge here, and again along the bottom and along the top. And we're just going to blend that in. I still think my anglerfish needs to be darker down here, so I'm just going to keep adding a little bit more layer until I'm happy with what it looks like. All right, I think that's probably good. Do a little bit more blending right in here. Okay, all right, so there's my blue. I'm going to take a smaller brush and fill in this part here with that blue color, as well as these spikes. So they can be darker if you want, or the same color, or however you want to do it. Mine are going to be a little bit darker. You just want to stop at the light part, don't keep going. We want to make sure that stays white so that we can add yellow there. Okay, I'm going to keep this smaller brush for the next part. We're going to do this part up here, this, and then here. So let me think what color I could use. Maybe a green color. I'm going to use this darker greenish blue color. All right, so we want it darker right along this line here. So that's where I'm going to start. You can make the whole thing wet like we did before. That might make it easier. Or you can add a little bit of paint and kind of blend it up. This is a smaller part, so it's a little bit easier. I'm adding a little bit more. You can even add a little bit darker along these lines here. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to go to the, oops, I dripped some water. If you do that, you can use your paper towel and soak it up. All right, I'm going to fill in this part here with water. You can see it still has some paint, and that's totally fine because it's going to be that color anyway. All right, I'm going to go a little bit along this edge, and then definitely in here where there's going to be shadows. You can see these two parts are behind this part, and this part. So I want those a little bit darker. I'm going to take some water and blend it, start blending that in. Just like that. All right, and then we're going to do this bottom part. Filling in with water. Then we want this darker along here. And even along these lines are a good idea to make a little bit darker, just to give it a little bit more texture. Just kind of blend it in a little bit. This one needs to be a little darker up here and along the lines. Okay. All right, I'm going to rinse off my brush, and then I'm going to make sure it's really well rinsed off, especially if you're using a dark color like me. And then we're going to add some yellow. So I'm just going to take a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to fill this in. And also, I put some yellow, a little bit more water. I put some yellow along these lines, just like this. Made it look a little bit more bright. All right, and then the last thing I did, which you do not need to do if you don't want to, I grabbed a tiny, tiny bit of like this teal color on this one. I put a little bit, you might not even be able to see it in the camera, but there's a little bit in his eye and a little bit down here at the bottom of the teeth just to give it shadow. So for this one down here, I'm going to use just a blue color, and I'm going to add just a tiniest bit. Again, you might not even be able to see it on the camera, but that makes the eye look a little bit more rounded and the teeth look like they're going a little bit behind his mouth here. Let me do this a little dark, and then I'm going to add a little water just like that. And if you're worried that you're going to get too much, then you don't have to do that. That's totally fine. All right, I think I'm all done with my anglerfish. If you enjoyed doing this art project with me, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see when I release new videos. I would love to make art with you again soon. Most importantly, keep creating. I'll see you next time. Bye.